Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Wednesday and welcome back to our series on the Havamal. This week we are looking at verse 63 and beginning with examining three different translations. The first translation reads, "Each man who is wise and would be wise called must ask and answer aright. Let one know thy secret, but never a second. If three, 1,000 shall know." That's Olive Bray. Second translation, "It is safe to tell a secret to no one, risky to tell it to two. To tell it to three is thoughtless folly. Everyone else will know." That's W.H. Auden and P.B. Taylor. And now for our final translation from the Cowboy Havamal. "Now here's a fact I've learned. Tell a secret to one good friend, and that secret might stay with him. But tell two people your secret, and everyone will know pretty soon." And that's Dr. Jackson Crawford. So, confidentiality, it's a difficult business. Even the Havamal acknowledges this, and that just demonstrates that this is a reality of human life, and we just have to be careful about to whom we entrust personal information and just how many people are in the know about our private affairs. There are times when we undoubtedly need to unburden our hearts and our minds, and so we do need people with whom we are close to be aware of certain things. But the more people we share with, the more we lose control over who knows what and when and where and how that tale might evolve. Sometimes it just doesn't much matter who knows, ordinary information. But if there is a need for discretion, whether it's over a medical matter or the state of a relationship or business transaction, just as a few examples, in those cases, it really does behoove us to make a distinction between people who can keep their own counsel and those who just can't help themselves but talk. And I think it is true that some people who say more than they ought to, they're not necessarily malicious. They're not intending to slander you or gossip about you. They don't actually mean any harm. They're just overflowing with information and they just cannot take it in. It's thoughtlessness more than it is anything else. But when that is the case, we should understand that that is what that person's behavioral pattern is and act accordingly, rather than trying to reform them, and try to persuade them, you were kind of talking out of turn. I need to tell you something. Could you not do it this time? Rather than expecting them to change, why not just be careful what information they're allowed to know before you're ready for it to be public, and save your confidences for those who are more likely to keep them. Social media has conditioned the average person to digitally announcing their deeds, from what's essentially the highest hill, with a megaphone just for all and sundry to be aware of. And this hasn't worked out terribly well. And frequently we see quite prominent people who are, delighted to have public discussions with people who they think are friendly towards them. But they absolutely balk when those who are antagonistic to them or their beliefs or their goals, when they appear to also be aware of these conversations, and then they use their own words as a basis of criticism. And various attempts have been made to allow these big names to be more selective about their audience and who has access to what content and for what purposes. But at the end of the day, all these measures don't amount to all that much. There's always a workaround. And let's face it, on the internet, if we are speaking there, we are speaking publicly, like it or not. The way forward is quite awkward because there's no getting rid of the internet, and its usefulness as a tool is beyond dispute. But there's also no denying that many people have developed a taste for becoming overly informed about people's personal matters and feeling entitled to be informed. And of course, many people have become absolutely addicted to the attention they receive when they make these emotional, confessional displays and videos. And this has actually turned into a substitute for authentic human relationships, and to disastrous consequence. So the proverbial Pandora's box, if I may be allowed to mix mythologies in this video, it's opened. It's opened, and many an ill has escaped from it, and we can't undo the damage that has been done, but we can close the box. And by closing the box, I mean start treating these modern forms of communication as tools. Recognize the responsibility that they are, as well as the conveniences they afford to us. And the shift in mindset begins with individuals, and individuals allowing that mindset to really change their behavior and to begin conducting themselves with greater decorum, to realize that if we're on the internet, we are in public, and essentially behaving accordingly and not being as open or as unguarded as what we might be in private. And of course, this is leading by example. which not only is more effective at influencing people, but over the long term, that could ultimately persuade people to be a little bit more sensible about what they share and how they share. But it also helps reinstitute proper boundaries between people, and we need boundaries in relationships, and even more so in acquaintances. Information overload, let's not forget, is not the same thing as having created emotional intimacy, and I think that's a lesson we're learning the hard way in our society. But lots to unpack with this particular verse. That was what I got out of it. I would like to hear your own thoughts on the subject. Let me know all about it in the comments section, or come on to Blackbird's Brew on Gilded, and we'll have a more extensive discussion there. Just bring it up and let's really unpack this. I would love to do that with you. Link to join us is in the description box below, and I think that'll do it for now. See you next time. Bye.